Titleist is the #1 ball in golf. Yes, being #1 is a number, and more players trust the Pro V1 or Pro V1X than all other golf balls combined. But being #1 is more than a number. It's a mindset. It's a relentless mission to design and manufacture the best performing golf balls in the game, so you can chase whatever your #1 is. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf.
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to the special US Women's Open episode of Playing from the Tips, which is also episode 65 of our preview and tipping podcast covering all corners of the professional golf globe, presented by Golf Australia magazine. Jimmy Emanuel here, trying to control, coerce and collate the so-called experts as we go in-depth on the second women's major of the year, as well as taking a look at the PGA Tour's RBC Canadian Open and DP World Tour's European Open. The first of those rumoured experts apparently works in outdoor sports publishing, according to LinkedIn, and further Google searching suggests was either the winner of the gold medal and A-grade foursomes at Mangrove Mountain or an international rugby league star, depending on how you spell his surname. I speak, of course, of Rod Murray.
Both unlikely scenarios, aren't they? International football.
That's why I thought it could be either, because you being a gold medal winner at Mangrove Mountain.
There can only be one. It was one of the absolute highlights. I think was it Morris Morsanuto was my partner, if I'm not mistaken. Morris, interesting character. Anyway, yeah.
Maury and Morris.
Rod Morris is the international rugby league player.
I've still got my 2015 June B-grade monthly medal winner shirt.
I think
hanging in the cupboard.
I think
I
you're
might have
actually
worn
wearing it when you were awarded the A-grade foursomes.
Could be. Was it black?
Yeah, it was blue.
Mangrove Mountain?
No,
blue.
blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, they were the glory days, mate.
Next, after last week's edition of AI Who Would Logue Pick, not really AI, but we discussed it.
Certainly not real intelligence. It was only you and me involved. So.
Yeah. And hang on, it doesn't sound like you Googled me.
I didn't Google you because why would I? I've never Googled you either. I'm going to
right
Google
now.
it later. But why would I Google you when I've got an opening line?
Just Googled Rod.
Yeah, but when I've got an opening line like "Welcome back from Whamtown, Adrian Logue."
Yeah, Whamtown. I was tempted not to leave Whamtown.
What is Whamtown?
I don't know.
Okay.
I never worked out what it stood for, but yeah,
Okay.
they've got an amazing logo.
Don't burn the Google of him now. I'll save it for next week. Before we do our usual recap of last week and our style, it's important to note in all the golf we mention and talk about each week pales in comparison to something that happened last week in the tragic passing of Grayson Murray over the weekend. A truly awful situation, and like everyone in the golf world, our condolences and thoughts to the whole family, friends, PGA Tour community. Everyone.
It brings it home, doesn't it? But Grayson Murray's a person like everybody else. And, as long as I've been alive and working in media, this has been an ongoing problem. I don't know if it's getting better, and particularly it seems with men. Men just don't talk. Yeah. They keep things in. So I'm not saying that's what happened with Grayson, but this whole issue just has been a constant, and we don't seem... Gary Williams from 5 Club Golf wrote a brilliant piece about Grayson, which was really very touching and informative and, well worth it. We might try and put a link in the show notes.
I think we should, because it's really worth it, read. On the golf front last week, was there some highlights that we saw? I think the senior PGA was pretty engaging and interesting, certainly from an Australian front.
Absolutely.
Having been tasked with doing a bit of that work, it was very exciting from that front. Richard Bland as well, very impressive.
Yeah. Well, Greg Chalmers, just fantastic to see. You always got the feeling with Greg Chalmers that it was someone who worked really hard at his game through his 40s and just kept trying to, make cuts on the PGA Tour. And those are the guys who tend to come out of the gates really strong in the senior tour. And this is really good. I actually expect him to do quite a lot on the senior tour now.
When he gets an eventual start.
When he gets some senior majors and stuff.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, true.
He was driving to a Monday qualifier, having finished third.
But he's a grinder. Like, he's just so he'll get it. He'll get
not just that. I think almost more importantly, particularly for the Champions Tour, he's fabulous on social media. I follow him on Twitter. Anybody who does knows he's a really good guy. We had him on the Thing About Golf a couple of years ago. Fantastic guy. Just a lovely bloke. That's almost more important than him playing well. You can already see, the Greggy fans are out there. The Champions Tour doesn't have much of that.
No.
And that's a really important sort of thing for them. So, yeah, and as I said, one of the nicest blokes.
I think the social media persona hides that he's actually a pretty deep thinker about the game and everything like that. Really engaging conversation.
Very.
Richard Green, another one, guy who ground away on the European Tour forever and ever and is having so much success. And then Scott Hend, first senior major and finishes in the top 5. It's just really good time. I think we had 14 Australians in that field last week.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and a bunch of Kiwis and stuff.
And we're going to talk about the US Women's Open again. Really
same
sort
thing
of
again.
a golden era.
Just a couple other mentions as well. Sam Jones, Kiwi, lovely young guy who had his first top 10 on the DP World Tour, powered by an Albatross. That doesn't happen every day.
Well done.
And then the Adidas Pro-Am series at home. They've been playing in WA for a couple of weeks. Played the 50th Spalding Park Open, which is a big achievement for a Pro-Am. Brady Watt won that. But then there's been a bunch of guys winning their first things. John Lyris won for a first time. Nathan Barbieri and Josh Greer, all young. It's been a really solid sort of thing, so it's cool to see.
Probably don't follow it that closely, Jimmy, but you'll watch all of those names in the next 3 to 5 years. And at least some of them will start bumping up on the international stage.
Yep.
And if they don't, they might, like Greg Chalmers, might
be when they're 50.
Come good when they're 50.
And apologies to Nathan Barbieri. That was
Barbieri?
Yes, told me.
I always thought it was Barbieri.
No, Barbieri, yeah.
Okay.
Barbieri sounds a little bit more gangster, like he wears his hat.
Yeah, true.
Sounds like it's out of Welcome Back Cotter.
Oh,
Barbieri.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Barbieri's
Vinny
in trouble
Barbieri,
again.
yeah, that's right. And Ryan Epstein.
On last week, we were frankly pretty woeful. Just one top 10, so 68 of those for us for the year, 11 wins. So those are runs on the board that are unrivaled in the preview podcasting space hosted by freelance golf riders in their mid-30s.
In Studio One.
Yep, there you go.
At the SPS complex.
On to this week's golf. And in an ideal world, the entire stage would be for the women's game and a major championship. Not quite the case, but still most of the attention will be on the US Women's Open presented by Ally, or I think it's Ally. Ally. Which is going to be played for $12 million and heads to Lancaster Country Club for the second time. Alison Corpuz, defending champion. Adrian Logue, golf course expert. Tell us about it.
Well, Lancaster Country Club, or Lancaster, as you like to say.
Did you say Lancaster?
No, I
thought I heard Castor.
I heard Castor.
Lancaster. Okay.
Designed by William Flynn. There's an ongoing restoration as well by Ron Rose and Jim Nagel, who removed a lot of trees and added some bunkers. This was a venue in 2015. The winner was Inji Chung. If you recall from that event, it was quite tree-lined and everything. Now it's very opened up. And there's an excellent flyover on the US Women's Open website, which I recommend having a look at. Really shows off the dramatic nature of the ground, which is punctuated by a nice river that runs through it. And there's a lot of holes that line that river and crisscross it. And there's sort of these low-lying things, but it makes really good use of tee shots from the high banks either side of the river, going across there and then working their way back up these high banks. And then when you get up on top of these high banks, the land is a little bit flatter, but nonetheless still pretty interesting. It really looks like an interesting property, and really classic sort of layout. So golden age layout. And William Flynn, of all of the great courses he was involved in, including Pine Valley and Marion and Shinnecock Hills, this was the one that he kept returning to, and he worked on it up until his death, basically. This to him was like Pinehurst was to Donald Ross. It was the course he kept coming back to and working on, and it's one of the most significant minds in golf course architecture. So definitely worth a look. Just on that hole-by-hole flyover, which was sponsored by Deloitte, by the way.
Okay.
So just wanted to make sure they get their credit for this. A few holes to watch. The second is an amazing looking hole, sort of curves around one of those high pieces of ground up above the river, and ends in sort of an infinity green. Then straight from there, you go and hit this amazing tee shot over the river on the third, which, again, it just really shows you where you're at. It gives you this sense of place. The fourth, I'm not going to go through every hole, but the fourth
sounded like
is a cracking little par 4, which is actually one of the more unique holes on the course and is reasonably famous. Makes very good use of a little tributary that comes off the main river, and it runs its full length. And it reminds me a little bit of the 10th at the Belfry, where it just sort of kinks right at the very end where you've got to hit over. It's not short enough to be able to drive, but it's a really interesting little hole. And the other hole I'll mention is the 12th, which is a diabolical little par 3 with a shallow green. Looks a little bit of Augusta 12th vibes. Shallow green, bunkers behind, creek in front, and potential for some round wrecking scores there. I think a really pivotal hole potentially. And one more quick mention, the 16th is a drivable par 4, depending on where they put the tees, and sets itself up for quite a good finish with the 17th as a par 3. It's always good to have that mix. Drivable par 4, strong par 3, and then a really strong, brawny sort of par 5 uphill. The course overall, I think brawny is the right sort of word for it. It's long enough, and it just feels like a big one of those. It's a big golf course. A lot of rough. Unfortunately, the bunkers are in the rough.
Best place for it.
The green surrounds are all rough, apart from the odd hole has short grass in the apron. So,
do we know if that was kind of the original? I can't imagine Flynn would have had it set up like that. That would be a USGA decision. Do you think?
I think it's just how the course presents itself. Yeah. I don't think you'll see these players running the ball up these aprons. I think they're just going to pitch it on. The greens are pretty big and extremely undulating. So Inji Chung, when she won, led the field in greens in regulation, and I think that's what we're going to see again here. Yeah, is somebody who's a really good ball striker
and a good lag putter.
Lag putter. Yeah.
On the pronunciation, guaranteed all week they're going to say Lancaster. It's a very American way to say it. I've just been thinking about that and bubbling inside.
Are you on Lancaster? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm on Lancaster.
Oh, good. You're on the right side. Are you on Lancaster? Who went Lancaster?
I was trying to project Lancaster on Jimmy unfairly.
Yeah.
No good.
No, but it does look like a promising sort of venue, much better than it was in 2015. I think. And there's actually a good story about Flynn on the US Women's Open website.
Okay.
In Like Flynn, written by Rod Driscoll.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, republished from the Golfers Journal.
Yeah, I think it's from the Golfers Journal. Yeah, it's very, very good about his history and USGA, but John Bodenhammer gets in there and talks about it and stuff. It's very cool. So, it's a good year for women's major host venues. Sahali, Old Course, as good as they can be, given they've got two ones that stay in place every year.
Sahali, I'm not so convinced about. Not my favourite. It's a very certain type of golf course, and it's a good example of its type.
We don't see it that much.
It's not my kind of golf course.
Rod, we turn to you for some players to watch.
Well, that was a mistake, wasn't it? No. Look, a little bit like we're going to see at the Canadian Open, which we'll chat later. One name stands above all on the LPGA, and it is, of course, Nelly Korda. Do you understand how American betting works? I just had a look at the top 10 in the odds. So Nelly Korda is plus 350. Next betting line is Rose Zhang at plus 1800. It seems to me that Nelly's likely the favourite there. Am I reading that right?
Just fractionally,
That's just,
that's crazy stuff.
It is, but a little bit like Tiger in his prime. Probably about right.
Yeah,
in fact, I recall a period in the late 90s, early 2000s when the field was paying higher odds than Tiger. You could back the field at 8-1 and he was 6-1 or something. It's like, are you kidding me? There's 155 other blokes. And yet you'd hesitate to put your money down. It's
Well, on head-to-head, you'd go Tiger every time there because that was the one that he won.
That's as much about offsetting when he wins as anything else. But Nelly's in that kind of range. I don't know. Is she starting to get the attention that she deserves?
Yeah, to an extent, but it's never probably going to get there. She's getting a bit more cut through outside of golf and just how good this run is and how good a player she is. But I still think it's got a while to go. I don't think people fully appreciate just how big of an achievement it is to keep going like she is.
Kind of sad in a way. So much publicity when she turned up at that event.
The Met Gala.
The Met Gala or whatever it was. There was all these stories about her and it's like, well, that's nice, but she's doing amazing things on the golf course. We should be talking more about that as well. That's an ongoing issue. But anyway, so Nelly is rightfully the heavy favourite. I'll just go through the top 10. Nelly Korda, Rose Zhang, Jin Young Ko, Ataya Titikin, Minjee Lee, Ayaka Furue, Hannah Green, Se Young Kim, Nasa Hatayaka and Brooke Henderson. All known names, and you wouldn't be surprised if any of those were there Sunday afternoon. So we'll put them aside. I know you'll talk about the Australians shortly, separately. So I wanted to pick a couple of players who might come from outside that favourite group that might be interesting. So Se Young Kim, I think I tipped her a couple of weeks ago from memory. She's had a so-so year, but hasn't missed a cut. A couple of decent finishes. Never missed the cut at this event. Wasn't a great week the last time she was in 2015. The course has changed a bit. She's a player who can make a lot of birdies. This course looks like it might give up birdies if you can find the right spots. So I like Se Young Kim playing all right. Gabby Ruffles, you'll talk about more, but I would consider her in that. And the other one I was going to mention was Charlie Hull. Now, remember her finishing second last year. Again, a bit like Se Young Kim. Decent but not spectacular year, but she's one who gets the fire lit under her for the bigger events. And this course, I think, she will like.
Played here in 2015 as well.
Yeah, I think she's finished tied 42nd. That would have been one of her first.
She should be very young.
US Women's Opens. Yeah. I think it'll suit
in the vicinity of the world top 10 now as well, right?
Probably. I didn't check the world rankings, but I just feel like from the photos and the videos that you're talking about that I saw, I think the course will interest her. Yep. She's talked before about getting bored on the golf course sometimes when she's playing. Yep. When she's engaged, she's extraordinary. A little bit like Bubba Watson, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of mind.
Yep.
This course will ask her to hit shots, low, high, left to right to left.
There's not many flat lies either.
No. So for all those reasons, I think, who knows, but I'm going to tip Charlie Hull. I think she's a good chance to take it out this year.
Okay, very good. Logue, a tip from you?
Look, Nelly Korda.
Yeah.
The thing is, this course looks like a really good fit for her.
Yes.
I'm also going to
I was looking for any excuse not to go with Nelly, but the course just looks like a really good fit.
They're all a good fit for her. She wins on every sort of golf.
This sort of thing in particular just looks like she's just going to she'll be indestructible.
Yeah.
So
I went through it all trying to find a reason to be insightful and tip someone else, but I just can't. Like it's until the heater cools a little bit and you're not seeing perfect fit venues, then it's just it makes no sense to me. So while we're getting a few picks before we do the Australians, let's get an outside chance. I'm going to kick us off. Lauren Coughlin.
Okay. Coughlin or Coughlin?
Coughlin. Okay.
Lancaster or Lancaster?
Brutal day for me. Good form this year, like some good finishes after, she's still at 31, still pretty new to the LPGA Tour. And then has the perfect mix for US Women's Open in this venue. 30th in driving accuracy, which on the LPGA Tour is actually in the 70s. And then 11th in greens in regulation. She's going to give herself so many. Right? Yeah, she's going to give herself so many looks, and it's just going to be perfect.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that's insightful. I did more work in the outsider space than the winner.
Because we all know who's going to win.
You look very defensive. You've got your arms crossed.
It's cold.
The listeners.
Yeah. Logue?
Madeline Sagstrom.
Nice.
Yeah, not a bad tip.
Yeah.
I thought about her. She's played well recently.
Like she was punching out bottle caps the other week when she was like way under par there and very unlucky not to win. But I think she can, let's see if she can do that again. Nice. She would have got a lot of confidence from that.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Gabby Ruffles.
Nice. She's
on the verge of the outsider, but we'll say she's an outsider everyone's an outsider apart from Nelly this week.
Well, that's how I was going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
That's right. The field.
Gabby is, of course, one of the Australians in the field, of which there are 6, and some genuine chances to lift the trophy, which would be the 5th time an Australian's won the US Women's Open. So they are Hannah Green, Sarah Kemp, Steph Kyriakou, Minjee Lee, Amanda Keeley Marks, and Gabby Ruffles. Marks got her spot through pre-qualifying in Illinois. She was actually the medalist. Plays college golf at Iowa State. She's won a junior world title at Torrey Pines, and bodes well for her career that, like Hannah Green, she's a good friend of Monica Marcassani.
Wow.
That's a intangible that you just can't beat.
you can't buy that.
Sarah Kemp was one of the final players into the field, so she was an alternate through qualifying, and then just overnight, or yesterday morning, they had a few go in on world rankings, and the USGA reserves a few spots, so she goes in. It's her 7th US Women's Open, notably, and Kempy noticed it herself in the media release. They said 28-year-old Sarah Kemp. She was stoked. Got 10 years off her age. That's pretty good. Kyriakou makes her tournament debut. She also came through qualifying. It will be a really interesting one to watch if she's got it this week. Her ball striking, the birdie ability around a golf course like this, setup of a US Women's Open, could be something interesting there. Quite remarkably, Gabby Ruffles is playing her 5th US Open at 24 years of age.
Well, she's a big USGA.
Correct. Not as remarkable
big-time
as
USGA
Lexi
player.
Thompson playing her
I was just gonna
18th
say,
at 29.
29 years old playing her 18th US Women's Open is extraordinary. Isn't it?
So,
It really is.
yeah.
amazing.
But Gabby...
Lucy Lee in the field as well.
Yeah, Lucy Lee, yeah. Gabby is a genuine chance, despite, being quite young and a first-year LPGA Tour player. She's got the Rookie of the Year rankings by so much at this stage, but just a really good ball striking and a mindset that is built for major championships.
I think it's the mindset for me that really separates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we've got our 2 major winners, Minjee and Hannah. As you mentioned in the favourites, Rod, they get mentioned at every stage. Minjee's found some form of late. She sort of had a bit of a rough trot to start the year. But Hannah Green is ranked 5th in the world, has won twice this year. Second last start to Nelly. Just everything trending of, I think, what everyone's thought Hannah Green's got. That there's going to be a breakout year where she really comes through. There's a story on her in the current issue of Golf Australia magazine, written by Karen Harding, all about how this year's come to be and the sort of putting together of the Hannah Green puzzle. But serious contender.
She's world class.
Yeah. Added length a couple of years ago, and I think got that confidence boost of, hey, I'm this good. So
Feels like there was a change in attitude for Hannah. To me, she sort of came into her own, I think, in about that 21, 22, like you said, when she was picking up. There was a definite change in her outward, the way she was dealing with the world. And she's got a real winner's energy about her, I think.
Yeah. So let's get a top Aussie. I'm going to go first because I just spoke about her. Hannah.
I'll join the club, Hannah.
Hannah Green as well.
Wow. Unanimous. Sorry, Greenie. That probably means someone else
Nelly
is going to be
Korda,
the
Hannah
top.
Green, 1-2.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. That'll work for us.
Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
All right, let's leave the US Women's Open and take a look at the other events around the world. And first...
Sorry, just before we leave it, I did find in the most interesting name I think I've ever seen, a young lady from California called Asterisk Tally. Asterisk is her first name, and she likes it because it's different. So, most interesting name in the field, Asterisk Tally. Not related to Emma Tally. Sorry, we can move on.
Good asterisks for the end of the comment.
Well, it's asterisk.
Yeah, that's out
Not
there.
X. Well, everyone says asterisks. I do too, but it's asterisk.
Asterisk.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's fascinating. Rod, you're going to tell us all about the RBC.
Sorry, Jim, to interrupt again. Had she considered Interrobang?
Sorry?
Interrobang.
Yeah.
What's in Terabang?
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
It's
Where
like
was
when
I?
you combine an asterisk with a question mark.
Where was I?
It's an interrobang.
I don't
No,
know.
that's not when you can. That's when you an exclamation
no, it's
point and a question mark.
Sorry, exclamation point, no question mark. Yeah, okay, all right, sorry.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's a minute. We'll
Let's
get
talk
back.
about
Interrobang
RBC.
tally.
Yeah.
It really works.
Okay.
Let's talk about the RBC Canadian Open. Rod, tell us a bit about it.
Well, one of the great tournaments. This one started in 1904, same year as the Australian Open, so it's among the oldest tournaments that is still running. Gets lost a bit in the PGA Tour shuffle. Why are you laughing still? Interrobang's not that funny. I don't even recall the conversation. Okay. Anyway, we'll move on. Gets lost a bit in the PGA Tour shuffle. The best idea I ever heard for the Canadian Open was Huggy's idea when it used to be between the US Open and the Open Championship in that date there. Huggy said that they should sign with the European Tour, make it a European Tour event instead of a PGA Tour event. Then they get a great field if they have a couple of spots in the Open. And I think he made a good point. Canadians rightly feel a bit slighted by the PGA Tour, I think.
Yep.
This tournament is more important. And their sponsor, RBC, has been fantastic. And I think there's tension between RBC and the PGA Tour. Yes. So we're seeing all of that sort of strip maybe out of all that Canadian Open might do. But it is always a really good tournament. It's not always played at courses that I necessarily like, but I think this year it will be. Hamilton Golf and Country Club. It's a Harry Colt, one of his few outside of the UK and the US. 7th time hosting the Canadian. Last time was 2019 when Rory won it. You'd have to think he'll be a chance this time again. Martin Ebert has done a bunch of runners. They sort of started this process in 2014 and then 2019, 20 and 21, I think they did the work. He couldn't even get on site because of COVID. So they were using 3D animation and virtual reality stuff for him to get looks at the course and do it all. So it's quite an achievement to do.
How Bill Core did Boogle Run.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, same sort of thing. So interesting.
Did Christine Fraser not help with this as well?
I would imagine. I didn't see her name, but I'd be surprised if she wasn't a part of it, given her connections with Martin Ebert.
Yeah.
Am I thinking of Hawtrey? I'm thinking Martin Hawtrey, I think, is her mentor. My mistake. But it would not be a surprise if Christine Fraser had a part in that. It might be one of the stars of the show this week.
I think so,
Golf and Country. There's a bit of short grass around the greens. The terrain looks interesting. The routing gets a huge thumbs up from just about everybody who knows anything about that kind of stuff. So I think that'll be one of the highlights of the week is watching the course. I lean that way, of course, so I would say that. Some people won't be interested. That's fair enough too. Players to watch? Well, one name stands out. He's the Nelly Korda of the PGA Tour. Is Rory. 2-time winner in 3 starts. He actually won at this golf course in 2019 before all these renovations were completed. So I just don't see how you can kind of go past McIlroy. Anyway, so I think he's the favourite. He'll end up being my tip. But I think what we'll see this year, after the excitement of last year when Nick Taylor won with that outrageous putt on the 18th hole, I think it's really fired up.
Tackle.
Yeah, that's right. Canadian players and fans, and I think everybody who is Canadian for the week, as I suspect we all are this week, they'll be really cheering on their local players. I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of got a bit lifted by that. It's funny how that happens.
Taylor Pendrith had a win
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So they've got good players.
And President's Cup going to Canada this year.
President's Cup going to Canada, exactly. So it'll be a big week for Canada. So I think, I'm not sure if this is the full. It's Mackenzie Hughes, Adam Hadwin, Adam Svensson, who did we just say? Taylor Pendrith, and of course Nick Taylor defending. I'm going to tip Corey Connors.
There's a couple of ones that are getting on.
There's
Will Bateman
qualifies, but those are the PGA Tour players that you think have a sort of a legitimate chance this week. And who knows, the vibe might be just right. But I'm going to tip Rory.
Nice. Okay, Logue.
I am picking a young man from Hollywood Golf Club in Northern Ireland, Rory McIlroy.
How many L's in Hollywood?
1.
Thank you. Good boy. I think that's all very true, but I'm going to be contrarian and I'm going to tip Adam Scott.
Again?
Yeah.
He showed something last week, didn't he?
Tied 12th last week. Needs to get into the top 60 to keep his major run that I think is at 91 consecutive majors at the US Open because he miscut at the PGA, dropped him out of the top 60 that would have got him in at the end of that week. So the Monday after they go, okay, top 60's in here. He needs to get back in there by a date. Otherwise, he's going back to pre-qualifying. He desperately doesn't want to have to do that. And Hamilton redesign and everything is the kind of thing you spoke about Charlie Hull switching on. For someone like Adam who's been around and played all these events so often, when there's a new challenge and there's a particularly golfy challenge, I think it switches Adam's brain into another level. So I think
what does he have to do this week to get back in it?
He's right near the number. So the good finish last week would have helped, but it won't have probably
not enough to get him
I don't claim to be a world ranking mathematician, but I think a top 5 or something should do him a lot of favours. Finally, the European Open is on the DP World Tour. Interestingly,
Open to Europe.
Thank you. Interestingly, no longer listed as the Porsche European Open, or Porsche, if we're talking. I've actually written down Porsche or Porsche, but Porsche or Porsche, which was always the name. I don't know when that happened, if that was last
Wasn't
year.
it the Volvo European Open for a long time?
No, Volvo European Masters.
Yeah. My bad.
Your
Sorry.
poor knowledge of European car manufacturers. It once again returns to Green Eagle golf courses in Germany, which tips out at just over 7,200 metres, and this is on on officially what is called, I think, the Porsche North course. So Porsche's obviously got an involvement in the club.
This is absolutely what I expect from a European Open. It's like a super green forested slugfest.
Exactly. Unbelievably long. I think there's water on almost every hole.
Yeah.
And the closing 4-hole stretch has 3 par 5s. Like just a slug to finish. Like you're just beating yourself up to get down to the wire. But actually, the interesting thing about it is that exactly that. You name something European Open, you're like, yeah, it's going to be thick, long grass. It's going to be this place was built to be like a youthful, really welcoming golf facility.
So I seem to recall it's a really interesting backstory.
Yeah, Michael Blesch and Ralph Luhmann. I don't know about that pronunciation. Michael Blesch is a golf instructor, and he and his partner Ralph Luhmann, one of them couldn't get into a club, so they decided to set up this really welcoming, engaging young people sort of a hub. There's a par 3 course, there's another 9 holes, there's a driving range, short game. It's just outside. Now I'm going to test myself as to where it is.
Hamburg,
I think.
That's what it says on the European Tour website. We're looking at it.
And it's a really positive sort of a story about a golf course because, as a lot of us know, those sort of places like Germany, golf is not that accessible as a public sort of a thing. So,
elite, doesn't it, in Europe?
Yeah. Jason Scrivener, David Micheluzzi, Hayden Barron are the Aussies. Field that's pretty similar to last week in Belgium. Additions of people like Danny Willett and Rasmus Højgaard are notable. Nacho Elvira won last week. He's here again. Adrian Otaegui was in the mix, and he's another one worth looking at. Defending champion Tom McKibben, also from Hollywood with 1L.
You've just stolen my thing.
I had working on a bit. He'd done the setup, and now you've ruined the punchline.
Yeah, I saw it. But meanwhile, another one worth mentioning who's in the field, the first Ugandan to make a DP World Tour cut, our man Ronald Rugamayo. Got a sponsor's invite here. So
great excitement at the Afreya Golf Academy.
I was going to say, I'm imagining it is,
real
percolating down there.
And funnily enough, it really does tell you, we saw the reaction when he made the cut a few weeks ago from the ground there. You can't buy that, what that does. It was like when we used to watch Greg Norman in the 80s as kids and you'd aspire to that. That's what that's doing there. Really, really extraordinary.
So with all that in mind, let's get some tips. Logue, you got any amazing gear here?
My pick is a young man from Hollywood Golf Club in Northern Ireland, Tom McKibben.
Staggered.
Dirtied up the
Yeah, just didn't like
That's fantastic. I really enjoyed that now. Yeah. Rod?
Oh, if there's a Højgaard in the field, you've got a Højgaard, don't you?
I so enjoy that as just a strategy. It's good.
I noticed that no good Ewan Ferguson's in the field as well.
Don't get his name out of your mouth.
I'd like to see when I do Google Logue next week to see, for his intro, if there's something about a feud with Ewan Ferguson. That'd be great.
There isn't. I'm looking at the Logue Google profile here. There isn't.
I'm going to go with Laurie Cantor. Had a good week last week. He's sort of putting some things together. I think he's close to doing something.
Nothing to do with the fact that he's the first name on the entry list, so you opened the page and went, that'll do.
No.
We all thought it.
That's right. Given I've had to preview this and I mentioned the name Hayden Barron, who's about 123 on the entry list. No, that's not the case. I have given that some thought.
Good player, Laurie Cantor.
He is a good player. That will do us for episode 65 of Playing from the Tips. Roddy, any plans on going back to Mangrove Mountain and your Nelly-like run of gold medals and foursomes to continue?
No, all done there, unfortunately. I haven't been back up that way for a long, long time. We moved out of the area several years ago, so I haven't been back there for ages. Great little place. If you ever get the chance,
I've actually never been.
Mangrove's really it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's no Royal Melbourne, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Good little club.
Speaking of Royal Melbourne, that's a perfect segue to saying goodbye to Logue. Can you guarantee that your tips this week will be better than AI Logue last week?
AI Logue was extremely disappointing. I think it was hallucinating.
I think AI Logue got a top 10.
Can hallucinate a little bit. But,
yeah. You can follow along with the US Women's Open and so much more on the Golf Australia magazine website, golfaustralia.com.au, and make sure to tune into our sibling podcast because I think it's due for a new episode. Would that be right, Rod? Who is coming up tomorrow?
A fascinating chat, more interesting than I thought it would be, which is on me, with Mark James. John Hogan spoke to Mark James.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
My main exposure to Mark James really has been as a TV commentator, and he's made some disparaging remarks about the old course over time, and as I've never really taken to him, but my goodness, what a fabulous storyteller and a really, really interesting guy. One of my favourites. Well done, Huggy. That'll be out tomorrow.
Nice. All right. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week on Playing from the Tips.